Welcome to Fireside Chats with Mats. So this is going to sound like I'm being captain of all captains, obvious. But I was just thinking about. I was just watching my video for Zenith, the beginning period space FCM6, um, and like after the audio, which is the end of the podcast. But after the audio, I have footage. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, okay. I just thought of something I thought to put at the end of a different video, but video that's not up yet. But after the audio, I have the audio with gameplay footage from Tekken 7. I just have gameplay footage from Tekken 7, and it's fun to see how like the video and like what I'm talking about in a video matches up with the footage. Like there's all sorts of connections in like the Now in the 90s episode, and of course in like the episode where I'm talking about playing FF7, and then you see me grinding as described in the audio on the screen in FF7. Um, but even when I'm not directly referring to it, it seems like there's some symbolic stuff sometimes. Like with Sonic in particular, I talk about the magenta, like with Quantum of Conscience and stuff. And right after I do that, literally is the part of it. It's the first time in the stage, I think, unless I think I might have just previously died and now it's happening again. But either way, a magenta tide of water comes over Sonic, and that's the part in that stage, Chemical Plant rather, where famously Sonic is like in the magenta water for like usually it usually seems to take at least like 3 to or like 10 to 25 seconds or something, like that he's just in this magenta water and he actually has to get out of it or he's gonna die. And that happens just after I mention the fucking magenta. There's another part where I'm talking about Jared's dick pic or something, and just while I'm talking about the dick pic, Sonic struggles to go up a hill, and then he doesn't make it, and then he revs up, and then he goes up the hill, and it's like going straight up the hill and sort of like an ejaculatory motion, and he makes it over. And I'm talking about the dick pic, and just prior to that, actually, something seemed to connect with what I was talking about. But so like just symbolically, it seems like things go together. And with like that Sonic video, for example, I was just sort of like looking through this little portable hard drive of like gameplay footage I have for my PS4, and I thought like, okay, like I need to pick the first Sonic video, like the first Sonic video from the Sega Genesis collection videos, and or something like that. And it was like, it was like shit. Like that video turned out to match like really perfectly and even hilariously with the audio. Not to mention that, of course, it's Pro Jared, and I'm talking about Now in the 90s, and this was a game from the 90s, and it's known as like one of the classic video games from the 90s. And then towards the end of the video, it zooms out to the Sega Genesis Classics collection or whatever, like showing this like television that you're playing the game on, and the game is still being played on the television, but it's just the view has zoomed out from the screen, so now it's as if you're in this room watching the screen. And like it seemed, I don't know if it was just like how I was feeling at the time, but it seemed to me that the little object behind the TV on the right, some kind of like rubber mallet or something, it looked like it was like weirdly three-dimensional, in the sense that like it was actual like video footage of a room rather than like this not particularly advanced PlayStation 4 graphics or PlayStation 3/4 maybe era graphics. I don't know if this particular collection is native to the PS4, but it looked like more than graphics. It looked like it was really there. And then I sort of thought, like, wait a second, does it look like it's really there, like, and I'm looking through the screen into, like, just another, like, reality or something, or does it look like it's just sort of real footage rather than, like, video game graphics? But anyway, of course, that's, like, sort of interesting because, like, it's as if you're in a 90s bedroom playing Sonic on, like, the CRT TV, this like old tube TV or whatever it is. That's the term that people throw around these days in retro game videos a lot. But or maybe they have been doing so. I don't know. But Anyway, you're like playing in this very like 90s themed environment as I'm talking about now in the 90s ending, and like so you've been playing this classic 90s game, and then perhaps unexpectedly it zooms out to reveal that you're literally in this 90s environment, and for some reason the graphics look so realistic that it feels like you're not even sure if it looks like just actual video footage of a 90s type bedroom with an actual mallet or something on the wall, or maybe if you're actually looking through into another dimension and you're actually in the 90s, and it's like that fucking video footage worked out perfectly for that audio. And I didn't record that gameplay footage thinking of that audio. I don't think. No, that I think that audio was like weeks or months ago maybe that I recorded it. So and then as I end the thing that's talking about this show now in the 90s sadly ending, Sonic, he keeps dying to the boss of Chemical Zone because he keeps like just seemingly randomly, and I remember that happening, and I remember thinking, geez, like what are the fucking chances that I would have a mistaken bounce off of Robotnik twice in a row that led me to fall into the magenta fucking water yet again, falling into the magenta and dying twice in a row on this fairly simple boss. As a kid, I had a little more trouble with him, but these days it's like he's pretty easy, but you do want to make sure you're not going to bounce off him into the water, which happened twice in a row, and then the third time I did beat him, but I beat him on like my last coin, or well, last ring or something. Coin. That's a meme now, isn't it? Did that come from the Sonic Was Always Good video, or was that prior to that? In any case, it felt like a little bit like coin to say that, but my last ring, it's better than a coin because it sort of represents your life bar as well, and if you lose your last ring and then you get hit again, then you're gonna die, so I was down to like low health, and I did finally beat him, and I prevailed. But then I go into the aquatic ruin zone, or ruin, I guess. I think I used to think it was aquatic run. Maybe that's a Mandela effect. I don't know. But I go into aquatic ruin, and fairly promptly I fall into this gaping chasm of the ocean. But the video cuts out before Sonic actually dies, and that's the video where I'm talking about the end of this show now in the fucking 90s. But what I was referring to by saying Captain Obvious before was I was playing Tekken, and I was looking at the Noctis, and I was watching like the part of Zenith, the beginning, where it just shows you some like Tekken footage, and I think that worked out pretty well too, because it's like it ends with the audio part of it. That video ends with me saying basically like, the entire game these days is usually unlocked from the beginning, and then anything else is just more purchases rather than like more fun unlockable content that might make you naturally, there might be natural incentives to play the game more, right? But anyway, it is, so there I am, I'm talking about it, and I basically end the audio part by saying like, yeah, basically like, now the only incentive to play the game is just the game itself. Like, it doesn't seem like anything is really particularly interesting to unlock in the game, so really the only reward for playing the game itself is playing the game itself, which is, it's like, well, if you like the game, then the reward of playing the game itself would be playing the game itself, like, intrinsically, or in a certain sense, it's like, how much do you actually like the game if you're only playing it to unlock something, it's like, and then say you unlock that thing and then you play with that thing, do you feel like you still have the motivation? And it's like, did you want to play it until you unlock that particular thing, or do you actually like playing the game itself? So anyway, I leave you in that video with just footage of me playing the game itself, albeit with a character that I paid to unlock. And I start that video and I end the prior video that's talking about the fighting game DLC stuff. That one's called like why the problem of DLC in games, or the problem with DLC games, or something like that. But I end that video. I end the earlier video rather. In this sense, I end the earlier video with me having restarted the game, and it says at the beginning, Noctis is now unlocked, and if you think about it, like, why would it say Noctis is now unlocked when I start the game up, rather than when I do something in the game and then he's unlocked because I did something? It's because, no, I had to start the game up again because I quit out of the game, or I had just not been playing the game, however it worked out. I guess I could maybe guess by the timestamps of like the videos being made or saved or whatever. But the time I'm playing the game, no, I restart the game and suddenly Noctis is unlocked because prior to restarting the game, I had gone and fucking paid $8 to have Noctis unlocked. And then I started the game, and it's like, yes, and also I show it twice, one in that video and one in this video, because it's like, yes, not only is this sad that I unlocked this character by paying more money, but it's also kind of a defeat for me. I start this video, Zenith the Beginning, by saying it's kind of a defeat for me, and I start the video by saying I did the unthinkable, buying one of these fucking characters. But it's like I did buy the character because I was sort of interested in playing as the character. Like, it felt like there was just enough motivation there in that to maybe play as him. But yeah, Noctis, it turned out that I liked him, and so now I have footage of me just playing through the arcade mode that I had previously described as paltry as Noctis. And so it's sort of the ultimate statement of, here you go, now here's footage, video footage, and the audio of me playing as this fucking character, and this is the game now, because there's nothing to unlock. So it's like, you've already got the whole game available to you, and this is it, baby. This is it, man. This is it now. This is. But anyway, what I was referring to with the Captain Obvious thing is that I was looking at Noctis, and I was watching this video. I think, yeah, after the audio had like stopped of me speaking, and it was now just the audio of the game with the video of it. I was looking at Noctis, and then the audio actually started. Maybe I had stopped talking, but the audio didn't start of the game yet. So I was looking at Noctis, and then I heard Noctis say something, and he said it in like with a Japanese accent or something. It sounded like he said like, hell yeah. Every time after he does his little bullshit rage art, which, by the way, those rage arts are, I don't know what fighting game fans think about them, but I think it's bullshit. What, you take away a quarter of someone's health bar just by pressing down square, or like down square triangle? It's like, really? Oh, you have to take a certain amount of damage first. Yeah, then you can do a powerful attack for nothing, and that's a part of the game. Like, really? Like, is this fucking easy mode now, guys? I'm not really that good at the game. You could see me play the fucking game. Me playing against people online in the prior video, it's like hilarious. Like, me playing against that guy that I actually beat, neither of us was playing particularly well there, I don't think. Anyway, in this, but yeah, so I was looking at Noctis, though, and then I heard his voice then, and it sort of shocked me, and then he said something in Japanese at the beginning of the next fight or something, and I was like, oh yeah, Noctis is actually Japanese, and then it was like, you know what, like, here I am saying that Noctis is cool, and indeed, like, Noctis is kind of cool. I think I said somewhere, or maybe I say somewhere in another audio that I haven't posted yet, like, I'd be more invested in Cloud. Or I said, maybe I wrote somewhere, I don't know, but I'd be more invested in Cloud. I think it might have been written on MatthewFrancisHaviland.blogspot.com, but I'd be more invested in Cloud. Like, Cloud's a cooler character, especially playing Final Fantasy VII right now. I think I'd be more invested in him. But having played and platinumed Final Fantasy 15, and where Noctis is the main character, and you're essentially, until I got the DLC of them letting you play as the other characters, even then, like, most of the time, I think you would just end up playing as, or maybe to move around, you would have to play as, maybe, can you just walk around as Prompto or something? I think maybe to just walk around, you would, when you're not in a battle, maybe you have to be Noctis. And so it's like, I played as Noctis for a long time in a game that I really had a lot of fun with. So here he is, and I was thinking, like, yeah, like, he's not white, he's Japanese, he's not white. Like, he is ethnically Asian. And it's like maybe he was designed as looking kind of white. I don't know. I heard from somebody who was born in Hong Kong, actually, that, like, and maybe I heard this elsewhere too, but I think I heard from this person in particular, that, like, people in Asia, or like, people who are not white, but I think he, for some I don't know how much he knew of Hong Kong culture, but he said, like, you know, he said, like, white, or I think he said like particularly in China or so, I don't know, but because he wasn't from China, like he was born in Hong Kong, but he was American, like he was raised and lived in America, but he said like Chinese people like really like white people and they consider white people like more valuable, or even I think he even might have said like he considered like white people more attractive or something. And interestingly enough, like he seemed to identify as gay, so like he was attracted in white men and stuff, but like he said like he considered like white people more attractive, or like white people as like somewhat special or something. I don't say that to make any commentary on like white people or considerations of white people as this or that or anything. I say that in the sense that if maybe Noctis is presented as more Caucasian seeming than Japanese seeming, than he would be if there wasn't some kind of like white Christ complex thing going on here, or I don't like white coolness, like white attractive. I don't know, in like particularly in Asian cultures. I mean, I might be getting it wrong as to what my friend whom I'm talking about here was saying, like what culturally he was referring to. Maybe he was just referring to himself, but in any case, Noctis is. But I heard from someone who was born in Canada. Just because we dived into race here. She was white, but she was born in Canada, and she said like that. When you're not in America, like American stuff is the cool stuff. Like American culture is the cool stuff, and so like it's sort of weird. And so like you see like in certain Japanese games, like I mentioned in Final Fantasy VII, you see that there's like Twin Peaks influences. Like there. Or like in fucking Lost in Translation, like he's supposed to be Bill Murray's character is supposed to be a famous American actor, and they're filming an alcohol commercial with him to be played in Japanese markets because he's so famous in Japan as well. And not only that, but they're telling him to act like James Bond, and they're saying Roger Moore, James Bond. And so it's like clearly it seems from the context clues that American culture is really big in Japan. And then you have the Tom Waits song like, yeah, but I'm big in Japan, as if to say like I'm big in Japan, I'm, you know, like I'm that way because it is Japan. Like it's just an easier hurdle to become famous in Japan, like perhaps specifically from being an American artist or something. Like I think there is some sense of that, or like, you know, but I'm big in Japan, or I'm still big in Japan maybe. Like some maybe more minor artists in America, like they had some fame in America, but their fame carried on in other places, perhaps in other cultures. But, you know, it does seem like there is some kind of like sense, just like the culture of America, interestingly enough, celebrates Japanese culture, and a lot of people in America love anime and all this Japanese stuff, and like Americans do like have a fascination with Japan, like I do certainly. Japan has like a really cool vibe, like something about Japan's really cool. But it does seem like, so it seems like it sort of goes in multiple different directions in various ways, but it's like Japan might be sort of representing just American culture in general, and thus sort of maybe like a white aspect of it, but it's really more of an American kind of thing, and like a culturally and ethnically American kind of thing, maybe, in a certain sense. Them presenting that as some kind of cool thing to the point of making this character who is Japanese, like, and he speaks in Japanese in Tekken and whatever, or maybe that's just because it's a Japanese game, but this character who does seem to be like portrayed as in some sense Japanese, more white in any case than he might be if he were just being portrayed as Japanese, if Japan didn't have some kind of fascination with the West or something. And again, the West does certainly have a fascination with the East, so it goes both ways in that regard. But I was sitting there thinking, like, in a certain sense, I'm feeling like attached to this like Japanese character ethnically, and I don't think a single thing of it. And I was like, you know why? Because he's cool. You know why people like Ryu in Street Fighter? Because he's cool. You know why, you know, like, basically, I think people have gotten so wrapped up in race that they've forgotten that it's not enough to be a certain ethnicity. You have to be a cool character. And then when you are a cool character, people will appreciate you as a cool character because you are a cool character. But it's not enough to just be a black character. It's not enough to just be a white character. It's not enough to just be an Asian character or Japanese ethnically character or something. You have to be a cool character.